Hello guys and welcome back to another reaction video. This time we're doing the Sora disaster, why OpenAI killed their app by the infographic show. Go check them out. Very good people. Let's get straight into it.
It was supposed to be the next TikTok, a viral AI app that made everyone a movie director, hit 1 million users faster than ChatGPT, and seemed unstoppable. Now, it's
Makes
dead.
sense.
The hype turned into a ghost town, and behind the scenes things were unraveling. How could an app that promised to change the way we consume entertainment go so wrong? I'm Josh, and on today's episode of the Infographic Show, we'll reveal why Sora is closing its doors for good. Sora's demise is the most dramatic in the AI space to date. Within 3 months of launching, it plummeted from #1 in the free apps section of the App Store to number
I'm gonna
101
say this:
on
never install Sora and never will. Like, it's just, I'm gonna say this and don't take it too seriously, but AI will never replace humans. It just won't. And especially for like an AI app, it's more of a novelty. Like an AI app like that is just like, you know how back in like ancient, like I want to say ancient Egypt and like ancient Greece, they had those little steam copper things that would spin. That's basically an AI app. Okay, it's just nothing more than like a kite, a novelty, something to play with.
Google Play. It fell even lower, 181. Downloads peaked at 3.2 million in November, sank to 2.2 million in December, and had dropped as low as 1.2 million by the end of January. That's a 45% month-on-month decline.
Ooh.
There was even worse news for Sora's developers, OpenAI. People who downloaded the app ditched it almost immediately. 90% quit within a day of downloading it. A week later, only 2% hung around, and by day 30, even half of those remaining gave up. Most users seem to quit after
Because it's
using Sora
useless.
once. For OpenAI, it wasn't just a reputational embarrassment, it was hitting the company's bottom line hard. Sora reportedly burned through $15 million per day in GPU compute expenses, with an estimated cost of $1.30 per generated video. By the end of January, Sora had generated just $1.4 million, and spending that month alone dropped 32%, accelerating the decline further. The losses were only just starting to add up. Whichever way you look at it, it is the most spectacular crash and burn AI story to date.
Honestly,
So why
looking
was
at recent, well, news, it seems like the entire AI sector might blow up. I'm gonna be honest.
Sora such a dud, and how did OpenAI go so wrong? When OpenAI released Sora, technically Sora 2, in September 2025, it wasn't meant to be another AI video generator like Runway or Midjourney. It was supposed to be something bigger, a social network. OpenAI looked at the attention economy and decided that they didn't want to just power the videos, they wanted to own the platform where they were posted and shared. So they built a TikTok clone, but instead of a feed filled with content created by users, it was full of AI slop. But Sora's killer feature was called cameos. Record a quick video of your face and voice and suddenly you could be the star of any video. It was exciting and terrifying at the same time. A world where we don't make content anymore, we just prompt it. It seemed to work for a moment. The buzz was huge and the growth was explosive. Once the invites opened, Sora had 1 million iOS downloads the first week. The November 2025 Android release had 470,000 downloads on its first day. It was an instant hit, but then, almost as quickly, the wheels started coming off. It turns out the reason Sora went viral wasn't what you would expect. People weren't excited to star in a video themselves. They wanted to put well-known figures, especially cartoon characters, into AI-generated worlds. That was a PR disaster. Within days, videos of SpongeBob as a Nazi, Pikachu taking part in
You telling me SpongeBob is a Nazi? Crazy.
violent shootouts, and Disney princesses in compromising situations were going viral. Engagement was through the roof. But not
Bruh.
everyone was amused. Most of the characters being used in the videos belonged to major Hollywood studios. For them, the orgy of content flying out of Sora only spelled one thing: industrial-scale copyright infringement. Soon, expensive entertainment lawyers were at OpenAI's doorstep. A week after Sora's launch on October 6th, the Motion Picture Association, or MPA, issued a public statement. It demanded that OpenAI take immediate and decisive action to stop the platform from being flooded with copyright content violations. OpenAI had just closed a massive funding round valuing the company at $157
Overrated.
billion. CEO Sam Altman knew the MPA's lawyers could see the company was low-hanging fruit for a huge damages claim, and they had to act fast. The root of the MPA's belief was that OpenAI had adopted an opt-out policy with regards to copyright control on Sora. In other words, unless you specifically opted your content out of usage on Sora, it was fair game. Within 3 days of the platform's launch, even before the MPA public complaint, the opt-out policy had been canned. In its place was an opt-in policy. Sora now asks for explicit permission from rights holders before using their characters. It also gives them control over how their intellectual property, or IP, appears in Sora-generated content. That was a pretty agile move. It essentially shifts the responsibility for content control from the platform to the rights holders, eliminating much of the legal risk in the process. But not everyone was buying it. MPA CEO Charles Rivkin wrote that OpenAI must acknowledge it remains their responsibility, not rights holders, to prevent infringement on the Sora 2 service. Since then, OpenAI has taken several other measures to try to reassure rights holders. It added a visible watermark to all Sora-generated videos to improve transparency and deter misuse. It established a review team to monitor and remove any infringing or harmful content, including racist or offensive material. It also banned the generation of certain high-profile likenesses, but most tellingly, it scrubbed all the offending IP. It might have satisfied the lawyers, but it also killed all the fun. Overnight, the platform went from the Wild West to a ghost town. OpenAI found out the hard way you can't build a viral video network without the culture that makes things go viral. Sora served up AI slop, but we serve up 100% human-made content. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Funny that you would say that. Actually, if you're watching this video, you should like and subscribe anyways. Just saying. Then go to their channel, like and subscribe.
It wasn't just Hollywood coming after Sora, it was potentially everybody.
I
Around the same
mean-
time as the MPA's letter, Zelda Williams and Bernice
Oh,
King, the daughters
yeah.
of Robin Williams,
I remember seeing like multiple Dr. King videos on my Instagram with the Sora 2 watermark. Listen, I'm kind of impartial on them on that, but like it was funny. It was funny.
and Martin Luther King Jr., respectively, had publicly condemned AI-generated videos featuring their fathers, including racist depictions of the civil rights leader. Those offensive videos weren't isolated incidents. Fearing potential lawsuits and negative press, OpenAI started blocking content featuring even more public figures. You want to make a video of Taylor Swift endorsing your product? Blocked. A deep fake of the president? Better luck next time. Users were left with just one option
I'm
for
gonna say
star
this,
power.
honestly,
them
half of the deep fakes of the president are probably real. They're not even deep fakes.
themselves. As if Altman wasn't already neck-deep in copyright troubles, Cameo, the celebrity video platform, sued OpenAI over the use of the name. The courts agreed, and in November 2025, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order preventing OpenAI from using the name. OpenAI promptly changed it to Characters, but the change did nothing to resolve the underlying disaster with the feature: privacy, or the lack thereof. It is Sora's fatal flaw. The Characters feature was meant to be the heart of the app, but there is a problem with that. It requires you to upload your face and voice. In other words, you are expected to entrust your biometric data to a third-party AI company that is being sued for copyright infringement. Even worse, the reason for handing over some of your most sensitive data is that so others, including total strangers, can just remix it for their own enjoyment. In an era where identity theft is rampant, the idea of letting strangers remix your likeness is terrifying. It's hard to understand how OpenAI thought this was a
you
good
should
idea.
really never let that happen, because criminals and like scammers are already training AIs on like it's kind of scary. So they can like, if they get your voice and your face, they can send that to like an AI generated video to like your parents or like to one of your loved ones to extort money out of them when you're completely safe. So I heard they started doing those type of calls like last like 1 to 2 years ago. It's a bit iffy. That's why I kind of wait when I do get a phone call from like an unknown number. I wait a bit and then I like answer. But they even like normal companies record your voice now. It's kind of they say it's for uh call improvement, but they probably keep them and
The first
train
week
them.
of Sora showed just how far people would go. For those who tried characters, seeing an AI version of themselves wasn't exactly entertaining, it was unsettling, even creepy. For Sora, it was a fatal mistake. Most users who tried the app bailed, worried about privacy
Honestly, I
and
feel
sharing
like
their
they
digital
got a huge wake up call by doing that. Even though their biometric data is basically up in the air for everyone.
likeness. People who tried the characters feature never touched it again. In the end, the feature meant to drive engagement ended up driving users away. By the end of 2025, the honeymoon was well and truly over. Within weeks, it had become a divorce. The numbers for January 2026 were a bloodbath. January is when Sora died. Downloads collapsed by a further 45%. From a monthly peak of 3.2 million in November, total monthly downloads in January barely scraped 1.2 million. Revenue also collapsed. In December, users spent $540,000 inside of the app. By January, that number was gutted to $367,000, a 32% drop. After all that hype, Sora only generated $1.4 million in revenue. That's less than a single mid-tier influencer makes in a year. But more importantly, it's over 10 times less than what OpenAI paid for Sora's compute each day. The attention was gone, the money was gone, but Altman's Sora headache remained. In the same quarter that Sora launched, Google's Gemini app exploded with the Nano Banana model, and right as Sora was peaking, Meta launched Vibes, their own AI video feed, which diverted all the casual users who just wanted to play, not commit to a new network. The market shifted. Sora went from being the only game in town to being one option in a crowded space. And it wasn't even the best one. In that kind of market, users aren't loyal, they're lazy. They'll go where the tool is easiest and most convenient, and right now,
I
Sora
mean,
is
makes
neither,
sense.
not by a long shot. But the most damning reason for Sora's failure might not be external, it's internal. OpenAI reportedly is in the midst of an identity crisis, according to the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal,
Oh,
and
is it
former
because like they
employees.
all the top talent and like a bunch of top executives are leaving? I think I heard that.
Sora was caught in the crossfire. Terrified of losing ground on competitors like Google and Anthropic, Sam Altman put the company on red alert. As a result, OpenAI shifted focus. The company pulled all its resources into its well-established app ChatGPT. Sources inside the company said that if you weren't working on the language model, you were second-class citizens.
Bruh.
So the Sora team reportedly found itself on the outside looking in. They were
Oof.
starved of compute, talent, and interest. Longtime researchers like 7-year veteran Jerry Turek quit the company to explore other avenues of research. These departures meant there was no one left to fight for Sora, so the company decided to cut its losses, and Sora was left to die. It's an ignominious death for something that promised so much. Sora's collapse reveals 5 hard truths about the future of AI, social media, and the attention economy. The first one is that Silicon Valley seems to have difficulty remembering that a hockey stick growth chart is not a business model. OpenAI saw the
I mean, I'm
initial
gonna say
rush.
this again. It's basically a novelty toy. It's like if you were back in, say, the medieval times, it would look cool, and people would actually use it. But in the modern era, it's just a novelty toy. Okay, nothing more, nothing less.
Users and assumed they had built a new habit for humanity, but they confused curiosity with loyalty. Millions of people downloaded Sora to see what the hype was about, made one video of their dog flying through space, and then never opened the app again. It's a phenomenon known as the novelty trap. In the AI era, acquiring users is cheap, but keeping them, that costs a fortune. Sora proved you can buy a crowd, but you can't buy a community. The second lesson is a brutal reality check for product designers. If your killer feature requires work, that is not a killer feature, it's a pain. Sora's entire ecosystem was built around the Cameo feature, but to use it, users had to record a live video
Yeah, they most definitely are using your videos and voice to train other AI models. Most definitely. No doubt about it.
Of their face, verify their voice, and consent to a maze of privacy policies. TikTok lets you scroll infinitely with zero effort. Ask a user to do anything more than that, and you essentially ask them to leave. The moment you introduce friction, you introduce drop off. Cameo asked for too much trust, too much data, and too much effort. It was a platform that hadn't earned that yet, and users voted with their feet. Lesson 3 cuts right to the heart of the AI ethics debate. Every platform has a social contract. On Instagram, that contract is something like, I show you my life, you show me yours. On Twitter, it's, I share my thoughts, you share yours.
Twitter is an absolutely dumpster fire of no what it's just a it's just a dumpster fire. No matter where you look.
But what is the contract on a generative AI social network? Sora wanted users to create and remix content freely, but OpenAI refused to define the boundaries. When users pushed the boundaries, OpenAI panicked and slammed the door shut. In the process, OpenAI changed the contract after users had already signed it. When the censorship hammer fell, freedom was restricted, trust evaporated, and users rushed for the exits. The fourth lesson is the most cynical. It's also the most important for understanding the AI industry today. In the AI arms race, compute is currency. Inside OpenAI, Sora became a luxury that they could no longer afford. When Altman declared a red alert to fight Google and
I
Anthropic,
mean that's a fair point. But like also thinking like maybe 3 to 40 more years of this, it's gonna be not as heavy as you think it would be. What I mean by that is like you can take all those like data centers, all those compute and stuff, but there's gonna be coming like a time where they're just not bringing in enough money to like justify those expenses, and compute is just gonna get way more cheaper for the average person.
he made a strategic decision. Every GPU, every engineer, every line of code had to serve ChatGPT. Sora was eating up resources and generating a fraction of the revenue. It had to go. If your product isn't the CEO's top priority, you're living on borrowed time. Sora didn't just fail because the tech was bad. It failed in no small part because its parent company decided it wasn't worth committing to. And that brings us to the fifth lesson, the one that should worry every AI executive in Silicon Valley. Sora tried to replace human creativity with machine efficiency. They built a feed full of AI-generated content, remixed by AI, suggested by AI, and it felt hollow. Social media works because of the messiness of humanity, the awkward pauses, the unexpected emotions, the shared experience of being alive. Sora's feed was technically perfect, but emotionally dead. The collapse of Sora shows us that AI can boost creativity, but it can't replace the human connection that makes us want to
Hold up.
share.
Okay, I'm back.
Social network, you are fighting for one thing, attention. And on Sora, the attention was supposed to come from users expressing themselves creatively. It launched with a promise of total creative freedom, but it was almost immediately shackled by copyright issues. It tried to build intimacy through cameos, but ended up alienating users. It tried to compete in a cutthroat market, but was abandoned by its parent company as costs soared. Sora is a reminder that no matter how smart the algorithm is, you can't automate a soul. The churn rate was insane. The momentum was gone. Sora is dead. It's
Okay,
not the
I'm gonna
first.
say this as for like a closing point. If you actually believe AI is gonna replace humans, I question you. And another point is that looking back over like all of tech and like history in general, every advancement just reallocated more humans to other spaces. And I'm gonna say that AI is just gonna be nothing more than an efficiency tool, a ease quality of life tool. It's not gonna generally replace humans at everything. Like there has been two McDonald's that have opened, I think, like completely automated, and they face problems immediately because there's just stuff that you cannot plan for with current days AI. And AGI requires way more expenses and like costs that I think these AI companies could never bear. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Hey, see you later.